Everything has to align.
Oftentimes I sit and I write a song at piano and then I have to throw it into this world of production. And
all we can do is make something good and put it out and hope for the best. And that's all there is.
I think it's putting ego aside.
Performing and all of that stuff, to kind of speak their language.
Hi, I'm Phil, and I've decided to become a music producer. But what does it really mean to be a great producer in 2026? In this video, I'll try to answer that question by analyzing the working methods of some of today's greater producers, and by trying to apply them in a real project, together with an artist. A few months ago, I met Rihanna, a truly talented songwriter, and I offered to be her producer. She already had 5 songs ready, written with just guitar and vocals, and she asked me to help her record and produce them to turn them into an EP. At the point, I had an idea to produce each track using a different approach, inspired by 5 of the most influential producers of our time. The producers I choose as references are Phineas, known for his work with his sister Billie Eilish; Mark Ronson, famous for collaborations with artists like Amy Winehouse and Bruno Mars; Benny Blanco, songwriter and producer behind some of the biggest pop hits of the 21st century; Max Martin, one of the most influential pop producers behind global hits by Katy Perry, Bon Jovi, The Weeknd, Taylor Swift, and many more; Rick Rubin, an iconic figure in music production, known for working with the Beastie Boys, Red Hot Chili Peppers, John Cash, Kanye West, and many others. One of the first things I learned from observing how these producers work is the importance of a human approach toward the artist.
You come in, we start talking, we're gathering our little story. We might make music, we might just talk for a few days, and then something good will come out.
It's essential to get to know them as deeply as possible, to understand their ideas and their workflow.
As a producer and a collaborator, it's really important to know how the artist you're working with, what their workflow is, how they like to work, how they like to have the mic set up, all of those things, so you can create the most exciting work environment for them.
Do you already have an idea to the direction of each song, or?
So I don't really know other than that, direction-wise. I guess in my head it's just acoustic-y makes sense, it not being too epic, like you were saying. Keeping it quite less is more, I guess.
This aspect is crucial, because when an artist writes and performs their own songs, they inevitably expose a very intimate and vulnerable part of themselves. For this reason, they need to feel welcomed, understood, and protected.
Don't be afraid to be brutally honest. Be like, that sucks.
I think maybe Sister with the keys.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
In my head,
Yeah,
it feels like keys.
Definitely Sister is one that we can work on with the keys. The goal is to create a creative environment where there are no wrong ideas or paths to be excluded from the start, but rather a space open to dialogue, free from judgment and prejudice.
we try to make it very safe. I think that if you feel judged, you'll be so much less creatively open. But again, it's just because of the feeling of safety.
Yeah, it makes sense, because I think it is just a very spacious song.
Yeah, or maybe adding something, but not too much.
It just doesn't need about what it is, what the EP means. And I'm kind of in the headspace of trying to figure out what is my EP, because the name of the EP is Hindsight. It's about the lessons that you learn in your 20s.
The next step was to build an effective workflow organization, which is essential to optimize time and resources, especially in a professional context, where time directly impacts costs. To do this, I created a detailed schedule for the session, planning in advance the content of each meeting. This approach allowed me to clearly track the project's progress and ensure deadlines were met accurately. So there I have some notes for every song we want to arrange and produce. And now I'm just transposing these notes in my computer. The sessions began with recording the songs in their most essential form, voice and guitar or voice and piano. I really like the movement, like...
Yeah, they're like... So it's kind of like the chorus is lighter, there's moments of it going a bit more rhythm again, and then the verses are more rhythm.
I don't know if this is too much, but the idea was...
Oh, I get what you mean. Yeah, I've heard that in other songs.
Yeah.
It's every idea.
In this initial phase, we worked on several aspects. In some cases, revising the chord progressions, in others, the structure, and in others, the performance intention. This first step was necessary because in their original form, the songs were often too long, with unclear structures and the risk of becoming repetitive and heavy to listen to. Particular attention was given to managing ego and ideas throughout all stages of production. I didn't impose my ideas, instead I tried to enhance hers.
I don't really have much ego in the studio, so I'm always willing to let somebody who has the better idea lead.
My goal is not to form an opinion, it's to understand. There can't be any ego in this. If everyone's there with the purpose of making the best thing we can, there's nothing else. There are there can't be any boundaries to that.
Today, I did the recording for Sister. This is the setup. We have 2 mics. However, some difficulties emerged during these early sessions. Rihanna was used to performing her song freely, with guitar and voice, without following a strict tempo. When we tried to work with a defined tempo, she struggled to stay in time. This was a problem, both for recording and future production, since adding other instruments requires a stable rhythmic foundation. To make things more complicated, I don't play guitars, so at the first, I didn't know how to help her directly. To solve the problem, I decided to change my approach. Instead of adapting her to the tempo, I adapted the tempo to her. We recorded the parts without a metronome, and afterward, I worked on tempo automation within the session, making the click follow her performance. This experience made me to realize how important it is for a producer to find quick and effective solutions to problems. At the same time, I paid close attention to another fundamental aspect, making sure that Rihanna didn't feel uncomfortable or under pressure.
I was saying I think it feels better to be in the room together as aside from being in 2 different rooms doing the music. It just feels a lot more chilled and low-key.
When you're recording a vocal, really the most important thing that you're trying to do is provide an atmosphere for the singer that makes them feel the most at home, the most comfortable, the most they can reveal themselves and sing out without even thinking about it. Some singers don't like being in the booth. Some singers, as soon as you put them in the booth, they feel far from the music, they feel removed, they feel suddenly like there's a big spotlight on them. It's called red light fever once the record light starts going. Some people just want to be standing right next to you in the control room while you're there on the computer, on the tape machine, or whatever you're doing. And if that's the case, that's what you run with, because it's all about getting the best performance.
I'll sit here and she'll be like right there, and I'll just bring the microphone over to where she is, and she recorded pretty much every vocal for the entire album sitting on my bed, like with her legs crossed. It's kind of insane.
I tried to keep the atmosphere as light as possible, without making her feel bad about not being able to do something, so she could work with confidence and ease.
Yeah, I think it's nice. It's just like, but it adds to it. Yeah, but it's that bit of trying to figure out the harmony of the end.
Yeah.
That.
Can you do also the when I never do?
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm lying there by the lake.
In the end, the initial idea of using a different approach for each song didn't prove to be feasible for several reasons. The producers I used as reference, although each with their own identity, actually share many common traits and core principles.
I don't think about what people are going to take away from music. I just think about what I do. If fans take away that, that would be like the biggest victory. But to me, it's like if the audience took some profundity away from something and I felt nothing, I'd rather the opposite be true. I'd rather make music that I love.
We're making the best we can make to the best of our ability out of love and devotion. That's what it is. And there is no, I'm changing it for someone else, because it can't be better than this devotional act that we're doing.
Because of this, such a strict separation of approaches felt artificial and unnatural. Ultimately, a good producer embodies all of these qualities. Moreover, every person has a unique way of being.
Yes, I think as a record producer, you're part life coach, part cheerleader, part arranger, part songwriter, like all those things. And different artists you work with probably need certain ones of those tools and then not others, you know?
Even if you try, it's difficult to completely change your approach depending on the situation, especially when it comes to human relationships.
It's kind of like going to the gym. Okay. And the artist is bench pressing. They're sitting down. Okay. They're lifting up those reps. They're benching 200. Some artists need you to spot them a little bit more. And some artists, you just are there just like kind of just like in case something happens. Some artists, you're like helping them a little bit. Some artists, you're like kind of pulling the bar up all the way on. And I look at it like that. I just try to get in where I fit in. Some artists, I write the song. Some artists, I help them craft the song. Some artists, I stay out of the way and then just step in when I need to.
The most important lesson I take from this experience is the value of the relationship with the artist. To create good music together, it's essential to build trust, mutual respect, and a shared sense of well-being.
I feel like it's more of a collaboration between people working together to make the best thing. It's not a boss-slave relationship at all.
More generally, to create meaningful projects, it's crucial to build authentic relationships. In a way, you also need to know how to be a good friend.
Someone that understands the artist's vision and understands that, like, how to get their process, like how to kind of match their process. And someone that's open, like an open-minded person. I think weird unless they think that there's something not right about, like, if they have a gut instinct and then it's like, okay, they want to take the lead on because they know it's better this way. And then at that point, it's their expertise over the artist's, you know, not sure kind of uncertainty. But I think a lot of it's like collaboration. So